Your host John with my bestie Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
Stressed.
You just barely made it. Why'd you barely make it?
Because we're packing. I have my walkthrough is at 8:30. My closing is at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Movers will be here between 8 and 10.
So this is cool because I was just telling John, we just closed on our closing date is August 16th. So we're waiting for our closing date. And
Okay.
our asshole of a landlord, our previous landlord, wouldn't let us stay for an extra month.
Oh.
So kicked us out. So we are currently living with Alex Kazan. They have a property with two houses that the parents live on one side, etc. So the parents are in Portugal. We're in one of the houses. So it's all of us, me, my wife, my two kids. We're sleeping in one room. I was saying to him the dial-up the internet's like dial-up. So I'm at a coffee shop to make sure that I didn't drop you guys.
For a second I was about to be like, wow, what an eclectic home they have.
Oh no, I know. It's amazing. It's so cool for her because we were going to go stay at an Airbnb and the whole nine, but yeah, it's insane at the moment. So I feel you, dog. I'm right there with you.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, how do we accumulate so much shit? So much shit. Like it's never ending. And here's the craziest thing. Like, I don't know about you, Justin. Oh, by the way, Justin Cotler is here. We probably should have said that at some point, but I just started talking.
They're figuring it out. They'll figure it out.
Just another bald guy with glasses, man. You know?
Well, I don't even know who's talking. It's hard to tell. But I don't know how we accumulate so much shit. And for us, like, it's kind of been wild because we were traveling like 2 weeks ago through Maine because unfortunately we had like a death in the family. So we were like driving around the entire coast of New England, kind of like spending time with family and dealing with that. And then we were on vacation to Block Island for a week, which we do every year, as we planned it like a bazillion years ago. And so I was not home for the whole 2 weeks before, like, having basically 8 days to pack my entire house. So it's not like I could have really gotten a jump start on it just because life gets in the way. And so now in a crunch, I'm realizing we just own too much stuff. Just way too much. And I'm like trying to purge as we pack, but that kind of like takes too long. So I'm like half purging, and I'll have to purge like half on the way out. When I unpack, I'll be like, why did I even bring this? It's like insanity right now.
Did you figure out how to move the chicken coop?
No. So here's what's really sad, you guys. So Matt built this coop for me. It was my birthday present. Like 5 years ago, I like unwrapped coop like plans, like building plans. And he built it for me, and I picked out my chicks, and I bought them at like 24 hours old, and they were just little peepers sitting in my hands. Like, the coop is really sentimental, but the backyard is crap at this house that we're selling. So it's got like weird like ditches, and it's wicked hilly, and it's stupid. And so not a single like shed mover or construction professional or like person who owns a flatbed. Like, I called the entire state of Rhode Island and even some people up in Mass. Like, people have come to my house. I have sent videos of this thing. We thought about like breaking it apart and putting it back together, but like Matt built it, so it's not like he even remembers where the screws are. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't perfect. So all in all, at the end of the day, we are going to rebuild the coop of our dreams at the new house. And unfortunately, this one has to get like demoed and taken apart for wood or junk or whatever. And I have already cried real tears about it. And now I'm like committed to the new coop. So
what do you do with the chickens while they're in between coops?
Yeah, I had to purchase interim chicken housing. Yeah. On top of all the costs of moving, forget the fact that we just closed on a house like the highest amazing housing market fucking ever. So here we are, like, spending way too much money on everything. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Jeff.
I'm about to tell you our story. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
On top of that, I had to go to Tractor Supply today to be like, give me your finest $500 coop for the next like couple weeks until we can figure out how we're gonna build. So there was that.
Big fun. What's your story, Justin, with moving? He's got to be crazy out in Vegas.
Yeah, it's crazy. So when we moved to Vegas a couple of years ago, it was during the pandemic, right? So prices were super low, and we got an amazing deal. We signed when we came here too. We weren't sure we were going to stay, so we signed a 2-year lease. We were like, that'll be plenty of time for us to be able to kind of decide what we want to do. Well, 2 months ago, it was literally maybe 3 days before I left for Syndicate, and so I was gone for a month, right? That whole month, I was at every single semifinal. 3 days before, our landlord texted us and said, "I'm raising your rent 75%." Yeah. So I looked at my wife and I was like, well, we were planning on probably signing another year, and then we were going to buy a house. So we were like, well, that's perfect because the housing market's crazy right now. So it'll give us another year. Hopefully things will calm down a little bit. Well, when he sent us that text, I looked at her and I was like, there's no chance that I'm allowing that to happen. So I was like, let's go talk to a lender right before I leave. Let's see what we qualify for, et cetera. So we did that like literally the day before I left. My wife went and started looking at houses. 3 days later, I'm on the road. I'm in Knoxville. She calls me. She's like, I found our house. I was like, okay. She was like, I'm putting in a bid. This all happened the week of Syndicate. By Friday, we had won the bid on the house. And this is sight unseen. I never saw the house until I got back from semifinals. She bought the house.
No.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You saw like pictures and stuff, right?
She went to look at it and she sent me like the layout and whatnot. But yeah, I didn't get to see the house until I came back. So once I got back from semifinals, we went and looked at it and I was like, it's great. And listen, at the end of the day, she's got great taste. So I was like, if you're happy, I'm happy. It's all good. And it's closer to our daughter's gymnastics, and we spend most of our time close to Ivy's gymnastics, and then it's a little bit closer to the gym, so that was great. But what I was most happy about was just that we weren't going to have to give this guy all of our money. And then we sent him a text and we were like, okay, well, we bought a house, so we're going to be out of the house. Our lease ends at the end of June, so can we just do a month to month until the house closes? They're saying the house is going to close sometime in August. And he was like, no, I want you guys out June 30th.
Amazing.
After we had been there 2 years, perfect tenants, etc. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. We're living the gypsy life right now, so yeah, it's all good.
It's been a wild couple years. Like I just feel like the housing market has been so crazy, and like we've been casually looking for like 3 or 4 years, and like seriously looking for like 2 or 3 years, and it's just like it's been nuts. And like even before the rate hikes and the inflation and the whatever, like just the market was weird. Like first it was like not the greatest houses, and then it was like all the houses all at once, and then it was like just you needed the most money in the world to buy a new home, and now we're kind of still there. So I feel lucky that we kind of like squeaked in when we did. Like literally like signed paperwork, and the next day in the morning Alexa was like, today we've seen the highest interest rate. And I called my lender and I was like, are we locked in? Tell me we're locked in. He's like, no, you're good. Insane timing.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, here in Vegas is nuts too, because everybody kind of moved from California. And so it's just, they're saying, there's going to be, our broker is essentially like, yeah, there's not going to be a crash here. He's like, there's just not enough houses. We're usually see the volume around 12,000 houses. There's 1,000 houses now. So he's like, so it's just simple supply and demand issues. There's not going to be a crash here.
No, so, I need it to crash so I can refinance. That's what I need.
I know. That's kind of what we're waiting for. So we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, it's all good. Hey. It's good things at the end of the day, right? Fine. It's all good things.
It's fine.
You're ways off from rates dropping again, Nikki. Sorry. Hate to break it to you.
No, I know. Hey, the cool thing is I've got big plans, and obviously it's not going to happen overnight, even though I want the house to be just perfect in 5 minutes. But I have really big plans to like have a really nice home office with like a podcasting corner, like a little home studio. Nice. So maybe I won't have to be the queen of fake backgrounds anymore in my new
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is, I'm excited. This one's a lot bigger and more rooms, and so enough for everybody, kids, guests, the whole nine. So it's going to be nice.
Are you guys wanting to put down roots in Vegas for an extended period of time?
We love it. Yeah, we absolutely love it. So yeah, we're gonna be here a while and continue to kind of grow the Underdogs family here. And I mean, we love it for the kids. Just being able to be outdoors year round, being 5-10 minutes from Red Rock Canyon. My daughter's also a phenomenal rock climber, so she and I spend a lot of time rock climbing, which is a blast. And you know, we really. I lived in the Northeast for 20 years. I'm a native Floridian, so it's kind of like a situation where you can take the boy out of Florida, but you can't take the Florida out of the boy. I love warm weather. I'm never been like a big seasons guy, you know. So I lived in the Northeast for 20 years, and I had enough of cold and snow. And once we got here, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. We can be outside year round. We've got so much more space. We lived in New York City, so it's a lot more bang for your buck here. And so we really enjoy it. Yeah, I think we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I'm like that. Every season, like when snow comes, I'm like, why are we here? Why?
It's snowing in Rhode Island in like 2 weeks, Nikki. What are you talking about?
I know it. And like our whole families, both of our families are in New England. It's like, we're not going anywhere. I get it. But like, I just could be so happy in perma sunshine. I really could be.
Yeah. And now I'm like kind of a snob, sunshine snob, because I've been here for a while, and you wake up and every single day is blue sky, and it's very rare that it's cloudy, etc. So like when we were on the road this past month, it was like down in Knoxville. I didn't see the sun for 4 or 5 days, and I would wake up grumpy, and I'd be like, "What the hell's going on? Man? I can't deal with this." And then we went to Minnesota, and the same thing. And then I was in Montreal, and it was cold and it was rainy, and I was just like, you know what? I have turned into a sunshine snob. Like, no doubt about it. So, and I'm fine with that. I'm okay with it. I don't mind. I'm really cool with waking up in the sun every day.
Yeah.
What level sunblock do you need for that dome in Vegas? It's got to be 100, right?
It's 110 right now. It's hot. It's hot. There's like a couple weeks where you're just like, okay, this is really hot. As long as it's under 105, though, I have to be honest. Like, it could be 102 outside and dry, and it's better than 85 and humid in the Northeast. Like, it feels nicer. And when you're in the shade, honestly, you still get a cool breeze, etc. But 110 plus, and it is like, I mean, Nikki was here last year when it was 117.
I was just gonna say that. It was like 120 at West Coast Classic last year. We were there, and I was so pregnant already that like we went walking the strip at night, like just friends after dinner, and I was like out there for 2 seconds. I walked like half a block, and I was like, I don't follow a lot of rules, but I don't think I'm supposed to be really, really hot. I was like, as a pregnant lady, like, I think I'm not supposed to be in like saunas or hot tubs or 120-degree weather. I'm just gonna go back to the hotel.
Yeah, that trip was miserable. Here's what I remember about Vegas from West Coast Classic. It felt like an oven. Everywhere I went, it felt like an oven, and it also smelled like weed. So I felt like I was an edible inside the oven. Like, that's what it was like. Like, everywhere I went, I'm like, what does that smell? And I'm like, I know that's weed, but why would it be weed? And then I turn the corner, and there's like a cart where they're selling it. I'm like, oh, it must be legal here, I guess. Right?
Especially at the Orleans.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the fancy Orleans. So fancy.
Oh yeah, that's
the
not one of
worst
our
time
top
in Vegas
spots.
I've ever had. I used to love Vegas. I truly used to love it. It was so fun for like a weekend. I mean, the strip is a lot, but like it's an experience, and you go, and it serves a purpose, and it's a good time. And I just had like no fun at all because I was pregnant. It was hot. And we were at the Orleans.
Yeah,
and it was a lot. It was like a lot.
Brutal.
That trip. Yeah.
But when it's 120 out, you can't do anything. But that's literally like 2 weeks out of the year.
Of course.
And then in a couple of weeks, what's so cool is like, right kind of the middle, kind of the end of August into September, it'll then just be perfect. And it'll be perfect for months. Like, every day is the same. You wake up middle of the day, it's in the 90s, drops down to the 70s, but even in the 90s is gorgeous, And What we love about it is everything that's not the Strip. I mean, you can go to the Strip if you want to, but what's great is just how close you are, like I said, to Red Rock, to Mount Charleston, to Zion, to all these places that are super close, and it's so scenic and it's so pretty, and people don't realize how beautiful it is out here. They just think the Strip, which is fun too. It's really cool to have, but I mean, we've been to the Strip, once in the last 4 months. We went to go see a concert, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's cool and it's fun, but you don't need to go if you don't want. It's kind of like what Times Square was when we lived in New York City. It was like, you don't go there unless you have to, or you go to a Broadway show. There you go. You're down by Times Square. But besides that,
I was actually going to ask, when I was doing research for this, and believe it or not, Nikki, I did some research and I found out you're a musician. You got to get great music in Vegas. You seen a lot of concerts? Like, you checking people out or what?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough with kids, man. I mean, we got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we don't have family that live here, so it's tough. We have, sometimes we'll get the athletes to babysit, which is cool. But in general, we don't get a lot of nights out. But actually, we went to a concert. One of my favorite artists, her name is Yeba, and she opened for John Mayer. So we went to the Yeba John Mayer concert it was a couple months ago for our anniversary, and we went to a really nice dinner prior to. But I mean, there's incredible concerts out here. One of my really good friends is one of Adele's background singers. So when Adele was going to have her residency here, we were going to go. And then, of course, Adele canceled. She was having voice issues. So she didn't end up coming. So that kind of sucked.
That's the one concert I would spend like all my money on. All my money. Take it all would be to see Adele.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, and like I said, her name is Amanda Brown, who sings background. She's incredible, but it would have been great to see her. And she's one of I used to sing with her a bunch. So it was a lot of fun, when we would sing together. But
you would sing with her? What? Do I not know this about you?
The background singer. Oh, wait a minute. You didn't know that?
Nikki didn't do her research. I did.
She didn't do her research. Nikki, I was a full-time recording artist from 1997 to 2007. I had a record deal. I was my stuff's still on Spotify and iTunes.
I listened to it last night. I listened to it. It's very good.
People do not believe it. They don't.
No. It's very. As a matter of fact, don't take this the wrong way. It's shockingly good. Like, I meet a lot of people that are like, I was a musician in college, and I know a lot of people that are musicians, and I to this day know a lot of people that are musicians, like air quotes, right? And they'll send you their album, and it's just crap. So I'm like, I go to look this up because I wanted to hear what it sounded like, and I'm like kind of already rolling my eyes, thinking, all right, another CrossFitter wanting to do something other than CrossFit, and it's fucking great. Like, really great, Nikki.
I'm so excited. I know exactly what I'm listening to tonight when I finish my packing.
Yeah. I'll send it. You're not going to believe it. Trust me. It's a previous life, and I always tell people I was put on earth to sing, and I never thought I would find something I loved as much as singing, and coaching became the next stage for me. It became another place to be able to affect people and help change people's lives, and so it's been quite a journey from my music career to this, but it's still amazing to go back and listen to. Sometimes it's crazy, and it's really cool. Like, my daughter now is starting to really, and my son loves music, but he's 2, so he doesn't really get it. But my daughter, we actually went back and watched an old video of a concert that I did in San Francisco that was online, and she was just like, wait a minute. She's like, that's you, Daddy? And I was like, yeah, it's me. And she was just like, it's just so cool. It was really awesome.
That's special.
How did you get into R&B? That was the part that shocked me, is it's R&B. And it's like, it's hard R&B, Nikki. It's like, vocal runs and like really cool.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
So it's crazy. I just was always drawn to it. My mother's favorite band growing up were the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald. Yeah. So listening to Blue Eyed Soul, and she'll tell you, like, when I was 3 years old and we'd be in the car and she'd have Stevie Wonder on and I'd be singing along, and she'd just be like, wait a minute, this isn't normal for a 3-year-old. And I just always was drawn to it. And it's kind of funny is that, no one really knew, because I was always a jock in high school. I played college, I went to college to play basketball. But my sophomore year of college, there was a girl that I was dating had a show, Penn Dance. It was the University of Pennsylvania, and it was one of the school sponsored groups called Penn Dance, and they did this branded show with this other group called The Inspiration, which at the time was an all black R&B a cappella group. They did R&B and gospel music. There was about 16 members, co-ed, and I went to see the show, and it was like, I was like, this is exactly what I sing. I was like, this would be a blast, So I went and I auditioned for the show, and I got in, and so it was amazing. I was able to play athletics in college. I was able to sing in this group in college, and then once I started, really, kind of spending a lot of time doing that. And by the time I left college, I was one of the standout soloists in the group, and that was when I told my parents, I was like, listen, I think I'm going to give this music thing a whirl. And they were like, what? Like, no. And then they came and heard one of the shows, and they were like, oh, okay. They were like, we get
okay,
it.
now we trust you.
Yeah, you're pretty good. We can get down with this. And it was cool, man. That was all in Philadelphia, and I got out of college and joined this unbelievable R&B funk band for a couple of years, and we just gigged 4 or 5 nights a week and write music, and it was just an amazing time. I just think back and that kind of organic experience of being able to work on your chops and work on your craft, and then it was the coolest time I had in music was when I was broke and just spent time and it was before I got wrapped up in record companies and management companies and record deals and having to write, songs that they wanted you to write and all that stuff, which is kind of what happened once I moved to New York. And then you start to become this bitter, tortured artist, where it's not the same anymore. But, it was a blast. I really did enjoy it. A great time.
I love that. Oh, my word.
How do you feel about the state of the music industry now that everything's streaming and no one's making money?
Oh man, I always feel like I end up sounding like probably my parents sounded when I was a kid, and they would hear music and they were like, music's just not the same as it used to be.
Right.
It's hard for me because I hear a lot of stuff that's out there, and it's very different. And I always feel like you kind of everything now kind of gets grouped into this cookie cutter, the same thing over and over again. And I feel like, but there's always going to be some artists that you find that you're like, wow, there's still some incredibly talented artists who write and play and can really sing. And it is a completely different world though than when I, came up. When I started music full time in '97 was still, it was people were emailing, but there was no internet.
Right.
And then right around that time, the internet started, but really and truly, the whole streaming and being able to SoundCloud and be able to release stuff yourself, that wasn't a thing. It was still record deals and record companies when I was coming up. So it wasn't quite the same. And I mean, I think it's interesting to be able to have that opportunity to be able to get your music heard by so many people now. But yeah, it's really hard to make money. I mean, it's a challenge. So, it's hard. I don't know. Listen, I always think about it because I'm interested to see. So my wife is also a wonderful singer. She was a musical theater major, and she toured and did a lot of shows in New York and in up and down the Northeast, and very classically trained and very different than me.
Where did she go to school for musical theater?
She went to Wisconsin, somewhere in Wisconsin. She got a musical theater degree, and then she went and started working in New York. And that, we met actually kind of towards the tail end of both of our careers, our music careers. But she's a beautiful singer, and so we hope that our kids get that gene. They definitely have gotten. My daughter at least has gotten kind of the athlete gene for sure. But I'm hoping they both get the music gene. But again, and obviously we want them to do whatever it is that they love. But it's a tough racket. There's no question. A lot of it just depends on timing and who and when it happens. And I see I've sung with so many unbelievably talented people that, you just are like, oh, how is this person not, made it? And they like I said, I mean, they end up singing career background singers, or end up singing in event bands their whole life, which I did a lot of event band singing, which was a blast, and got to do some amazing things. I sang in an event band that we opened for Diana Ross. We opened for Joe Cocker. We opened for Jennifer Hudson. We opened for Kool and the Gang. We opened, it was incredible, like the experiences. But you're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's a scenario where if you live that life, once you have a family, it becomes more and more difficult to do. So we'll see. I hope that they love music, and I hope that it's something that they both have a talent for. But of course, I don't know that I want them to try to do it full time, but we'll support them with whatever it is.
Well, both of my girls play, and they're both kind of self-taught from watching me. I'll tell you my approach to them when they were young, like yours. Well, we were talking about this over the weekend, actually. My youngest daughter, and I was teaching summer camp for little kids, and she comes home. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sick of Kids Bop." And I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because they change all the lyrics." And we're having this long discussion. She's like, "Why didn't you ever play Kids Bop for us? You just always made us listen to the actual songs." And I was like, "Because I want you to have an appreciation for Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Guns N' Roses and, all these." I listened to a lot of rock music, obviously, but like we were listening to rap and country, and, there were really nothing excluded, even as little kids, because I wanted them to hear the real thing so they would be excited about it and interested in it. As they got older, the oldest one decided she wanted to play ukulele, and she got really good at it. And the youngest one decided she wanted to play guitar like me. And so I bought her a guitar, and she taught herself to play because she loves Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
And they don't have any desire to be professional musicians, but they love to play. And it's such a great outlet, kind of like what we all do with CrossFit, like it's your escape from, anxiety and stress and like all the craziness that goes out there. And I think when you have a creative outlet, it makes you creative in life as well. And I don't know. I would encourage anyone with young kids, don't get them the Kids Bop, don't get them the filtered stuff. Like, play them what you like, because they don't know. They don't even know what it means at that young age. They got no clue. No.
Yeah. No. My daughter's favorite song right now is "As" by Stevie Wonder, off of Songs of the Key of Life, and it's just one of the greatest songs ever written. But I mean, she's 5 years old, and she's singing along with it in the car, and this is the stuff that I listen to, and so yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally agree. I think it's incredibly important to share that, with your kids, especially for us, where music has played such a huge part in our lives. And, so she'll ask me all the time, "What's your favorite song, Daddy?" I'll be like, "Well, I have a lot of favorite songs. Why don't we listen to this one today? Why don't we listen to this one today?" So yeah, it's cool. And it's been fun to see them kind of, garner an appreciation for it.
Yeah. The only downside is if you're an obsessive CrossFitter like we all are, is that you end up buying all this stuff, all these guitars. It's like collecting shoes. You just keep buying stuff, and you just can't stop, So,
hey, it's a healthy obsession, bro.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true at all. It's healthy to have something to do, but spending the money on guitars.
I was about to say, maybe not on your pocketbook. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not healthy for my pocketbook, but it's all good. It's a fun hobby, and it is a good way to escape from, even like, you have a terrible workout. I'll come home and play guitar to forget CrossFit.
You went to CrossFit to forget your day, and then you had a terrible workout, so you had to come home and play music to forget about CrossFit.
Hey, you need something to escape from everything at some point or another.
I get it.
I love it.
Yeah,
super cool.
Get it.
It's all good. Well, I'll send it to you, Nikki. You got to hear it. Shit's great.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know exactly how I'm spending the rest of my night packing now. Thank you. Can't wait.
Cool.
I'm slowly finding out who all the CrossFit musicians are. So you got Dan Bailey plays guitar, and Sean Woodland plays bass. I don't know who the drummer.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sean's a good bass player.
Okay.
Got to find a good drummer. I don't know who plays drums in CrossFit. It's got to be one somewhere.
You trying to start a band?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, CrossFit band, of course. Why not?
I'll do some recon. I'll say. I'll put the word out for a drummer. There we go.
I can't wait to see you guys all converge at the games this year and just like jam out one night.
The problem is that at every competition my voice is gone because I'm screaming my head off. So like people are like, "Oh, you should sing," and I'll be like, I can't sing. I can't sing because I've destroyed my vocal.
We'll do some like low raspy Johnny Cash stuff then. How about that?
Yes, we could do that. We could do that, or even like a lot of the standards, like a lot of Sinatra stuff is even when I'm hoarse, it's fine. Yeah, I can get away with that for sure.
I did notice
asked, but I'll join you in singing if you'd like. I do sound like a dying cat when I sing, but I'm happy to join in. Happy to
That's okay.
Yeah, bring it on. Cannot carry a tune, but love to sing.
I did notice at whatever the last event I saw you on TV, you are kind of a screamer during these events. A little bit. Man. You're becoming notorious for that, or getting some notoriety. I love it. Have you always been like that? You always just kind of fired up as you're coaching, or is this a new thing for you?
Yeah, it's pretty much always been like that. It's not a conscious choice. It just comes out, and I feel like it's just I've always kind of been an emotional guy, and so. When I'm there with my crew, the emotion takes over, and it's just my my personality. I think I kind of wear my emotions on the sleeve, and it tends to come out in heightened situations. Yeah, in stressful situations.
When I texted you last week, it's because you had come up on the last show that we recorded, and I don't remember even the context of it, but we were like, we got to get Justin on the show because when you and I were chatting at the last at the Syndicate at the last event, and you were talking about Ricky and you were talking about everyone that you had out onto the field to play, I was like, Justin really he pours himself into these athletes, and you were talking about them like they were your kids. Like, oh, I'm so worried about him over here, and I'm worried about her over here, and we've been working on this, and he wasn't eating, and I asked him if he was sleeping, and I was like, man, it's like worrying about your kids, literally. And so that was sort of the catalyst for me to be like, I gotta text him and we gotta talk more about what's been going on. And truly that was before you've made recent headlines, my friend. So that was unintentionally we have the man of the hour on the show. But
I do want to say, Nikki, before we talk about any athletes, last time we had a coach on, you nearly got us sued. So all opinions are Nikki's.
Oh, right. What? No, wait.
All opinions.
Wait, I want to hear the story. What happened?
No, it wasn't like that. Well, it was kind of like that.
It was kind of like that.
It was kind of like that.
We had James Townsend on, and he made a mention of a former athlete that worked for him. And next thing I know, I'm getting a letter from an agent saying, take this episode down, or you're going to be subject to a lawsuit. I'm like,
okay.
Yeah, let's not do that. But so all that to say, that was actually we had tried to get you on the show before anything had happened, but now I have to know what's going on with your training camp these days because there have been some changes.
Yes, there have been some changes. Listen, the vibe in the gym right now is unbelievable. It is fantastic. I think they're not on our end really, but there have been some things said that we're kind of debating, I think, internally as to how to respond to a few of the things that have been said in the last couple of days. But at the end of the day, here's the best way I can put it. And this is a friend of mine that kind of said this to me. We are looking to build this thing with bricks, right? Bricks build a very strong foundation. And we're looking to build it for a very long time and long term. What we don't want to do is build with dominoes. It takes one domino to bring down the entire crew. And we had to ask the domino to leave. And that's basically what happened. It just was a scenario where, for the better of the community, we had to go a certain route, and it was unfortunate. But I am resolute in my decision, and we are stronger than we've ever been, and the vibe in the gym is the best that it's ever been. And it was a tough thing to do, but the way that things were going, we couldn't allow it to go that way anymore, and that's the best that I can say it without getting into details that, will be he said, she said type of stuff that I don't think is, that I really don't think is appropriate, or that we even need to go down that route. We wish her the best, and, she's a phenomenal athlete. She's going to do great. But for our community and our family, it was something that was necessary. It was something that was necessary, I think it was something that we kind of hoped to be able to get through the season. And then it just became apparent that wasn't going to be the case. And, I know the timing wasn't great, but it was absolutely 100% necessary. And it was something that I feel, very good about, honestly. So, yeah. But yeah, to say right now, I mean, we've got Ricky here, Ricky and Alex, and we've got the team that won the Far East is a team that Tommy Hackenberg coaches, and they're here. They flew in. And we've got our other athletes that are kind of helping Ricky and Alex prepare for the games. And I mean, the vibe is just phenomenal. It's this amazing community that we have, incredibly supportive. And that's what we are, looking to build from here forth, is essentially people who want to come in and be part of this amazing supportive community, where we don't break people down, but where we build them up. And that's ultimately what we're trying to build.
Good. Well, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are landing on your feet. I hope everyone lands on their feet. Obviously, it can be difficult for everyone when athletes change coaches in camps all the time, and, some timing is better than others. And I'm hope in my heart of hearts for you guys and for her and for everyone who's training for this game season, that everyone is exactly where they need to be to do the best that they possibly can do. And so thank you for answering our question. I don't even want to know the drama. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a perfect, thank you for answering. And it's none of our business what anyone did or didn't go through and how, but it's just, when it's so public, it must be difficult to navigate. Like you said, you guys are still trying to figure out, how do you deal with the whole thing? And I just hope that everyone is exactly, like I said, exactly where they need to be to do the best that they can this season. I'm excited to watch everyone compete.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm super excited. I can't wait. I can't wait for Madison. I'm incredibly excited to be with the crew that we have, and it's Ricky's comeback season, which is amazing. And then we've got Alex who, she's a rookie. And I think in a lot of ways, this is a bit of a surprise, for her. She's ahead of schedule. So, it's very exciting for us, to have those athletes. And, we've got a master's athlete, we've got adaptive athlete there, our coach, Coach Casey, who's obviously one of the favorites at the games. And so, we've got a ton of underdogs that are going to be there. And I can't wait to get behind and support, our athlete family that's going to be competing in Madison.
I was going to say, Nikki, I make memes for a living, so I'm kind of all about the drama. So if you want to get some drama here, that would help me. I remembered how we got to talking about getting Justin on, and I wanted to talk about this a little. We had that I'm just going to call it a rash of people getting popped a week ago, all these teams and athletes and whatever. And our discussions kind of centered around camps. So not about individual athletes. And I don't even really care to discuss individual athletes, but I was curious, for someone who coaches like a large stable of athletes, do you ever worry about like the brand awareness of underdogs, as an example? Like Nikki and I were debating, should coaches ask athletes to sign NDAs or to sign, kind of an honesty agreement or whatever you want to call it.
I will not do PEDs. Love Nikki.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or should coaches just go into it and say, whatever happens, happens, and that's on the athlete and it won't reflect on me?
Yeah, John, I think it's a great question. It's funny that you bring it up because we actually had that discussion today on our, we have a weekly management meeting for Underdogs. And we talked a little bit today, especially after everything that's happened, about how to handle that in the future. We do have athlete contracts essentially. When athletes join Underdogs, we have athlete contracts, and it is something that I think in the future, something that we will absolutely lay out. I don't think there's any question that in some capacity, like you said, almost like an honesty agreement, or that we, during the year, that there's a possibility that we actually might do random testing of our athletes.
Interesting.
I just think it's one of those things that I think it's the reality of the sport and the reality of where we are in 2022. I think what we've seen this year, I don't think it's an anomaly. I just think it's, as the stakes get higher, as the money continues to grow, and as we start to see people from all walks of life, get involved in the sport. I think, people are, I think at the end of the day, right, like in the history of sports, there are going to be people who look for an edge. And I think it's important that we address it as a training camp and as a brand, and as a brand now that's becoming more global, right? We've got athletes all over the place. There are athletes that are in-house, and then we have athletes that are, kind of representing the brand around the world. I think it's going to be important for us to address it and not run away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Justin,
we were discussing last week whether coaches should test their athletes, and I'm an advocate for it for whatever that's worth. Like I really believe that reputational risk is a huge issue for people, even if they don't see it yet, because the sport is so small right now. Like I don't think people really realize, maybe they do, but I'm not sure they fully realize where this could be 5 to 10 years from now.
Right.
And it's still kind of ground floor. I mean, it really is. And it only takes one or two, kind of big moments to ruin a reputation and to stay in it for a long period of time. And it's damn near impossible to fix it once it happens.
Yeah. My argument was, I have nothing against camps or coaches testing their athletes. My argument was just that I don't think that a coach or a camp can be responsible for an athlete's choice, because we're talking about full grown ass men and women here who come to you to train for an hour or two, and then they leave, and then they eat and take a nap and go do whatever, and then they come back to you later on. And I just think that there's a difference between and the court of public opinion is what it is. So reputational risk exists. I fully agree with John on that. I'm not sure. I hope that there can be some separation there, because I don't think as a coach you can be fully responsible for what that adult does. But it's interesting, this concept of randomly testing your athletes, especially as their training camp grows. My question on that is, do you feel like it breaks down a little bit of the trust that you build in the relationship with your own athlete? Isn't there is there going to be a little bit of like, well, Justin, don't you trust me? What the hell is this? You know?
I think that that's possible if you don't address it up front. If it's a scenario where if it's in the athlete contract, or at the beginning of the season, you say to your athletes, hey, this is what we're going to do. If you have a problem with it, please come speak with us and we'll explain why. But I think if you just kind of pop it on somebody, no pun intended, right? You pop it on somebody in mid-season, and you haven't discussed it, and there hasn't been any communication about it, then I totally agree with you. And the other thing that, just to kind of go back to what you were saying before, I agree that it's not necessarily a coach's fault unless there's a trend, right? If there's a one-off and you've got one athlete that pops and you've got a whole stable of athletes, fine. But if it starts to become a trend and you see year after year that there are athletes that are popping from that same camp, then I think that without question, you're going to suffer the consequences. I don't think there's any question about that, and rightly so. I think at that point you have to be able to, take responsibility, but also you have to do something to make sure that that's not happening. So, I think without question for us, we're this year, luckily, none of our athletes, popped, and so that's obviously great, and I hope that that's the case in the future. But we're going to take a little bit, I think, a little bit more responsibility in making sure that, we're an active participant in the supplements that our athletes are taking. I think more than anything, it's really about understanding and knowledge, because we see a ton of athletes, whether people believe it or not, right? But I think that there are a ton of athletes who just take things and they really don't know what's in it. They're not exactly sure what's on the list, and at the end of the day, I think you see a lot of athletes, who get popped for tainted substance or tainted supplements, and then also they'll take things that they didn't know were. To be honest with you, I coached an athlete in 2017 who got a prescription drug from his doctor. He and his wife were trying to have a second child, Ryan Elrod, and he made the CrossFit Games, and he got popped and had no idea, and I had no idea. He was living in Orlando, and I was living here. I didn't even know he was taking it, and he got the minimum ban. I mean, he got 2 years because he proved that he was taking it for that specific reason, but he got popped and he got banned for 2 years, and he took responsibility and said, yes, I was taking it. And to be honest with you, it's more important for me to be able to build my family than it was for me. And I would have never competed if I would have even known that this was on the list. But as a coach, I mean, it was a gut shot. I mean, it was a scenario where first of all, because I knew he's such a great human being, and it was just a terrible.
I am still a huge fan of him, and he's got the coolest career story. Like, wasn't he a Cirque du Soleil aerialist for a while? Yeah, he's a cool dude.
And I mean, just an awesome human, but he did take it, and so it was something that for me, that was definitely one of those scenarios where I was like, okay, in the future, I want to know what you're taking. I want to know what it is that you're putting in your body. I don't care if it's prescription or not. Like, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that this isn't going to be an issue, and so I think we've seen that happen this year, right? I mean, with Phil, I mean, that was a scenario where he was taking a prescription medication, and whether or not you believe it or not, I mean, that if that's what he was taking and that's all he was taking, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate not to know that was going to come up on a drug test, and it's something that could obviously be avoided.
Yeah. That's what's tough, is like, if people were just more judicious in understanding what they were doing, if you believe that side of things, then it definitely could all be avoided.
I think you'll see them starting to do that over time as the sport gets bigger. Part of it will become more self-governing. To Justin's point, if you had multiple athletes get popped in a certain camp, whether it's misfits or underdogs or whoever, like, the athletes that are part of that camp don't want that to happen either, because now everyone is viewed as tainted,
totally,
even if they're not failing tests. So I do think there will come a time when athletes are prodding each other to do the right thing. That's part of it in camps anyway. I think camps will start to do a better job of doing kind of what we're discussing here, because they don't, none of you guys want anyone to pop, let alone multiples, because I think that's a big deal. And my hope is that as the sport grows, CrossFit can continue to invest in this part of their program. Like, I know we haven't had more this year than previous years necessarily, at least yet, knock on wood. But I'd like to see them invest in more transparency, people, everyone really understanding inside and outside of CrossFit what it is. Because we're talking about a lot of kids. Like, for me, that's what it is. Like, you mentioned, like, they don't always know what they're taking. And I don't view that as a cop-out for them, because we're talking about 20-year-old kids. Like, I have a 20-year-old. She doesn't know what she's eating half the time. They're kids. Like, that's what they do. I realize they're athletes and they need to be more judicious and
well, I think a lot of it comes down to education. I think a lot of it comes down to so I'm Yeah, I've been a part of the USAFF, which is a part of the IF3, right? And the IF3 does a phenomenal job, with educating the athletes. We've had mandatory meetings with WADA and USADA, where the athletes at the actual competitions have had to sit through, and they don't always want to, but they've had to sit through a 3-hour seminar about drug testing, about what drugs are, off limits, about what supplements are off limits, about this, about that. And at the end of the day, I just think that there needs to be, more attention given to that. And I've always thought that CrossFit needed a third party, testing system. I still do, and I'm an advocate for it. And I think that would also kind of shut a lot of the critics up, outside of CrossFit if they had that. But regardless, I think we could put a lot more into education for the athletes, and make it mandatory. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's that important, especially, because it really doesn't take a lot to destroy a sport. And if you've got the trend where each year, we're going to see 2-3 times more athletes, testing positive, you're going to start to, the public perception is not going to be positive. And we're trying to build this thing. And if we want to build it, then we've got to bring a lot more attention to that aspect of things. And I hope that that's something that they'll do in the future. And I know that this regime that's in place is taking more time to get feedback from us, the coaches and the athletes, to try to make the sport better. I had a call with Justin Berg and Ari, not too long ago where they were like, listen, we want your opinion on how do we make things better. That's never happened in the past. So the fact that we're having these open discussions is really important. And these are things that we're bringing up, and hopefully it's something that we're going to see in the future that CrossFit, pays a lot more attention to.
Are you getting a sense that the tide is turning on that? Like that, I know there's tended to be a lot of negativity this year around how CrossFit has run the open and run quarterfinals and semifinals and now kind of leading into the game. Just a lot of community anxiety, maybe is the best way to word it. Or do you feel like that's turning?
I think that they're trying. And I think that they're interested in getting opinions from those in the know, and those that they respect. And I think that they really are trying. Whether or not, I don't think there's any question that they fumbled a few things this year, right? But the fact that they're asking questions and the fact that they want our feedback is a major step forward. I think that I think the constructive criticism in the past fell on deaf ears, or you almost felt like you were a bit excommunicated if you brought those things up in the past. And now I think that there's an open discussion and an open line of communication, which I've never felt in the past. So I'm very hopeful about that. And now I think it's just a matter of whether or not we're actually going to see changes made, because I think that there are things that have to change. Specific things that I can think about is just a lot of the stuff that we saw blunders with this year with the online video judging. There's a lot of things at the games as far as just coach athlete access. There's the thing with the pull-up bars and equaling the playing field for athletes, no matter how short or tall they are. Communication between CrossFit and the athletes about the season and about how things are, there's just been a lot of last minute things that have always happened. Payouts for athletes, just some of those things have to get better, and or any pay at all, right? For like a quarterfinal stage where you've got a whole stage of the games where nobody's getting paid. Like, it's just things that I think have to change, that at least they're listening to us, and hopefully we'll start to see some of those things change in the future.
And from your lips to God's ears. Speaking of pay, I need to thank you, by the way, because in this, I ran a fundraiser for the Adaptive campaign, and your group sold a T-shirt. Nikki, I didn't even tell you this, by the way.
No, tell me.
Sold a T-shirt to raise money, and they sent me a check for like $500 last week to donate to these athletes, which was super kind to you guys. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, we I think I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're one of the only brands that has an adaptive program. And obviously we have Casey Cree, who's running it, who is a CrossFit Games champion in the upper adaptive division. And he's adaptive or not, he's a genius. And when it comes to coaching, he's one of our best. So when he kind of brought it to us, it was a no-brainer for us. It was something that we were super excited to get behind, and obviously in the future, it's something that we hope to continue to support and continue to grow. And I just think it's one of those divisions. I mean, listen, the adaptive athletes are some of the best and most inspiring in the CrossFit community. And still don't get enough attention. So for us, it was something we were super excited to get behind, and obviously, thank you for starting it, and thank you for letting us be a part of it. It was awesome.
What's Casey Snatch up to these days?
Oh my gosh, he's amazing. I think he's at 245.
Jesus. So for those that don't know Casey, he's missing half an arm, and he snatches 245. It's
clean
ridiculous.
335. I think he cleans 335.
Yeah.
He's an absolute. I always say this. Tia is the best CrossFitter in the world, but the most impressive CrossFitter in the world is Casey. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. You see the things that he does, and it is absolutely astonishing. I mean, it's some of the most impressive stuff you've ever seen. And so if people don't know Casey, they should go and look him up and watch him, because you'd just be like in awe and so inspired. Like, you'll just be like, well, what the hell have I been doing?
Truly. Yeah.
He's also crazy humble and just like the sweetest guy you've ever met. Like, I know most of these athletes are, but like first time I met him, I'm like looking at his videos. I'm like, all right. Like, I know I should be inspired because you're an adaptive athlete, but now I'm just jealous. Like, just utterly fucking jealous because you're clean and jerking 3-something and you're snatching 245. Like, dude's a beast. Absolute beast.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, without question, we're super stoked. I can't wait to go watch him at the games. I mean, he's obviously the odds-on favorite. So I'm stoked to go see him dominate. It's gonna be fun.
Well, with as much as he lifts and snatches, I mean, truthfully, he'd make a splash in the non-adaptive division. I mean, those are ridiculous weights.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a freak. I mean, he's great at everything he does. It's incredible to watch.
Well, it's super appreciative, and I would tell you the athletes, as at this point, I've paid out about half of them, and I got to get the foreign ones, the European ones are much harder to pay out. So I'm kind of in the middle of figuring that out. But I would tell you, like, every single one that I've talked to have all just been so appreciative of people investing in them. And that's why I was excited when I talked to Casey about the adaptive program you guys run, because there are very few gyms that do that. And, I just really appreciate that, you guys have taken this approach to inclusion and kind of diving in head first, because you're known for your elite athletes, but I think this is like a really, really amazing thing you guys are doing, for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it was interesting when Casey kind of brought it to me, and we had the opportunity to do it. And I was, I was so excited to get behind it and be a part of it. Cause I like I said, I think it's a division that's underappreciated, and it's just amazing to watch. I'm excited that we decided to do it, and we'll continue to grow it as the years pass, for sure.
Counting Casey, you got a real shot at getting multiple athletes on the podium at the games this year. I was curious, because you've seen him now compete live, how you feel the reception to Ricky's going to be. Like, we're excited to get to watch him personally, but I've never seen him compete live and see what the crowds are like. Like, how are the crowds responding to you guys?
Ricky's he's a polarizing guy. What's funny is that, so we had several athletes who had never met Ricky, and Ricky's here now, and Ricky is, I think, if not, the most beloved, then he is such a good dude. And he has like, he has adapted to our community and our family. It's like peanut butter and jelly, man. He's just phenomenal. And he loves it here. I think there's a good chance that we're going to get him here for an extended period of time during the year. And his girlfriend just got here, and she loves it here. So, I'm hoping that we'll get him here for half of this next season coming up. But I think he's going to do really well. I think games programming is kind of his strength. He's an incredible runner. He's great at grunt work, and obviously we know that the games kind of centers a lot around that, a lot of odd object stuff and a lot of running, and he's a freak at that stuff. So I think he's got a chance to do really well. I think he's the strongest that he's ever been, and the strongest that he's ever been with me. And I think he's very excited. It's really fun to see him now. He was really, really tense and nervous for semifinals. I think that for him, that was the stage that he really needed to get through. Only 3 spots in Australia or in Oceania, right? And the fact that he was able to get through that, I think the pressure was on. And now I think he can go to the games and really sink his teeth into it with that many events. So I think the opportunity is there for him. And I think you're going to have a lot of people that are excited to see him. I think there are going to be some people who will always feel like he shouldn't, be allowed back in, and that's their right, to feel that way. But I think the people who are on the fence are kind of going to fall in love with him a little bit because again, he's this really kind of soft-spoken, chill guy who, when he gets on the floor, it's just, he's kind of like me in the stands where he lets his emotions go, and he's very real when he's out on the floor. You know how he's feeling and how he's doing, and I think that people can embrace that. I think it's fun to see. Because you're going to get a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion out of him, and I think that the crowd will respond to that for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I think they will too. We the year Hunter McIntyre went, you had all kind of uproar about Hunter getting in because he didn't actually qualify through a sanctional or the open, and Glassman gave him the freebie, and I was convinced he was going to come in and get roasted by the crowd. And it was a typical CrossFit crowd. Everybody's very polite and nice, and they cheered for him just like they did everybody else. I think they'll do the same for Ricky. I don't think he's gonna, be the subject of any negativity. I'm anxious to see him get a shot at his comeback. I've kind of changed my tune to how I feel about all these people getting popped. Like originally I was like, oh, they're all natural, nobody's doing it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing that shit. Like so many people got popped. They're doing it. But I also believe in second chances and like take your time, give it a shot. Go ahead. And he did his time.
Yeah,
he did it well.
Yeah, it's a heck of a story. I mean, we have never seen somebody in elite at the elite level who been suspended for 4 years and come back and been successful. So I think without question it's exciting and I'm interested. I mean, I'm as interested as anybody. Obviously I'm going to coach him and I think he'll do really well, but I'm just excited for him to get a shot. I mean, he's been waiting a long time. And I know there were a lot of lows during the those 4 years where I think in his mind he had to be thinking whether or not he was ever going to get the opportunity to do it again. And now that he has, and I just know that he's super excited, and I hope people give him a shot because I can tell you, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I coached my first CrossFit Games athlete back in 2010, so it's been 12 years that I've been coaching at this level, and he's an incredibly hard worker, and he's just a good guy who made a mistake. I mean, that's it. He was 22 years old. And I think, if we go back and look at our lives, I know, there are mistakes that I look back and when I was younger and say to myself, hey, if I wasn't given a second chance, I don't know where I'd be right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, I hope they do, because he's worked his butt off, and, you know, he's done everything right since he's been with us. And I'm, you know, incredibly excited for him to get his opportunity.
And were one of the mistakes that jacket you wore in that EP that you released in 2006? I was looking at those pictures. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to send this picture to you, Nikki. He looks so cool. Like, it's such a 2006 photo.
Hey,
I love
listen,
it so
listen.
much.
In fairness, I just purged my closet, and I found, and I could not make this up, I found a leather, what looks like Sergeant Pepper replica crop front tail back jacket.
Yeah, put it
I
on.
put it on, and I was like, what part of me thought this was cool ever?
Go put it on.
Oh no, I look back at those
I'll send you a
pictures,
picture, John. I'll send you both the picture. It's intense.
I love it. Yeah, no, you got to go back and look. There's some good ones. There's one I got the fur on, no shirt. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. Oh yeah, I go back and look at my old ones and I'm like, wow, yeah, that was cool.
Well, actually, Nikki, I was googling photos tonight to do the promo for this in my story, and I didn't have a photo you handy, so I just Googled Nikki Brazier, and the first photo that came, you're not gonna be able to see it, but you in this hat. Can you see this?
Oh
yeah.
What is up with that hat? I was loving it. Look at this thing.
You want me to tell you? Can I tell you what's up with that hat? That was on my company website for a while. We took headshots, and the reason why I have like a sweet Michael Jackson hat tilt on is because the morning of our headshots, I had the world's most massive sty on one eye.
Ooh.
Just like couldn't open my eye, couldn't whatever. I've never had a sty previously in my life, nor have I had one since, other than the day that we had to take headshots. So that's why that hat is covering half my face.
I mean, but that's very cool that you were able to, you know, you disguised it and you went like the fashion, like the whole night. Yeah. It was great.
I made it
I
work.
love this photo. I feel like it should say like Nikki Brazier PI or something. Like,
what is that jacket?
I love it so much.
Wow.
So that jacket's it's a coyote parka that my father handed down to me. So it's actually like in the family still. Yeah. But that was that was 2002, I think. So that's 20 years.
You look like Pitbull in that photo. You look like Mr. Worldwide.
It's funny you say that. Yeah. So it was 20. Yeah, that's 20 years ago. That picture.
So
yeah,
good. Well, we're getting close to time, but I had one other thing I wanted to ask you, just because it was a very memorable moment for me when Alex Kazan qualified for the games. Who cried harder, her or you?
Yeah,
I think it was a toss-up. I really did get emotional, and I think, you know, I mean, listen, this is a labor of love, right? Like we do this because, you know, we love coaching and we love seeing these athletes reach their maximum potential. We love helping them get to you know, just this growth. And, you know, when Alex started with us, you know, she was 18, and she, you know, was just this unbelievably soft-spoken kid who, you know, talked to me about, well, in a few years, you know, I'd really love to make the games. Like, that's my goal. And, you know, and at the beginning of this season, I could kind of see, you know, this rapid growth from month to month. I mean, she was just getting better and better and better. And a few months out, obviously quarterfinals, I think she finished 11th or 12th in quarterfinals, and she was shocked. I mean, you know, and when the leaderboard came out and I sat her down and I said, Alex, I'm not shocked. I'm like, you're this good. And I think you could make the games this year, but you're not going to make the games if you don't believe that you can make the games. And so our whole mantra, you know, and I know it's very Ted Lasso. If you watch Ted Lasso, it's very like this, believe in it. It wasn't, you know, but it really was. It was this idea of, if you believe it, then I think you can do it, because I think you're this talented. And we all know the Granite Games field was stacked. It was a stacked field, right, as far as semifinals are concerned. So there was no fake in the funk, right? Like if you made it out of Granite, you deserved to make it, right? And she, I think it was, after that first day, she was in third, and then after that chipper on day 2, where I just looked at her and I said, you're in third place after 3 events. Like, do you see what I'm saying? And it was like this light went on, and she was like, yeah. She was like, I do. I don't know that I saw it, but now I do. And to be able to see that happen within somebody, and especially within somebody who you care about, and within somebody who's just such a good, nice person who is getting exactly what she deserves to get, like all the accolades and all these great things that are happening to her. It's just really nice to see good things happen to good people. And so I was overcome with emotion because I was just so excited, to see this breakthrough happen, because it was just this life-changing experience for her. And now, no matter how she does at the games, listen, she's a rookie, and there are going to be ups and downs at the games. There are going to be good events for her and bad events. I don't expect her to go there and finish in the top 10 if we're being realistic, right? I think she's going to go there, and I think she's going to have moments, and I think she's going to have other moments where she's like, oh shit, I got to work on this, but I'm so excited for her to go and get the experience, because I now believe that her trajectory from where she's at this year to where she can be next year, now that she believes it, I think you're going to see her biggest growth from this year to next year, because we're going to really be able to hone in on the things that are going to make her an athlete that can go from making the games to now being an athlete who can do damage in the games, and that's very different. But for me, it was so exciting to see, and I couldn't, like we've talked about, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I couldn't withhold it. It was just so awesome, and I love her, and I'm so excited for her to be able to have this experience. It's just awesome.
Yeah, there's nothing better than seeing somebody achieve something they worked really hard for. And I wasn't making fun. Like I really love seeing people achieve things, and then those that have invested time in them also get that reward. And that's what was a really cool moment to watch, like seeing athletes and coaches embracing, and like, we did it, and it isn't just, hey, you're a great athlete, you did it. It's like, hey, you had this guidance and you did it. And it's a really cool moment to see live. And I don't know. I love seeing how excited you get about your athletes and how excited they are about you. And it's just very, very fun. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's like I said, it's just me. I can't. You kind of get it regardless. It's not. It just happens. So yeah. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to watch your athletes compete and see you guys at the games. Just a couple of weeks out now. Nikki will be on the sidelines interviewing all your crews are winning events. So
wait. I truly I can't even think past moving tomorrow, but yeah, it'll be a solid 10 days after we move into the new house. So I will definitely have my shit together. Don't worry.
Well, good luck with the move. I hope you have an easy move. I know
you.
It's always challenging moving, but I hope it goes well. And I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a volatile couple weeks with everything, and then obviously with us kind of living the gypsy life. So it was nice, honestly, to come and kind of chat with you guys and get my mind off of some of the other stuff. And it was nice for me. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. Of course, we'll have to do this again after games and do a debrief on how everything went. Yeah.
Anytime.
All right. Well, great having you on, Justin. Nikki, great seeing you again as always. Go knock down that chicken coop and get packed up, get moved, and then I'll see you guys both in a couple of weeks. Exciting stuff.
Yay.
So, all right, everyone, thanks for listening. We'll be back again soon.